We'll start with API lifecycle, how Apigee helps maintain the life cycle of an API, how you can manage the whole life cycle. So even the APIs, like any other standard software or program, they have their own life cycle. So they have the phases like design, develop, secure, publish, scale, monitor, analyze, and eventually monetize. So there are different phases for any API. So so these are the different phases how you can manage. So for Apigee, Apigee enables the whole API lifecycle management. So Apigee allows the designing, development, security, publishing, scale up, monitoring, analyzing, and eventually monetizing the API. So all these phases that we just covered, Apigee has provisions for all of them. So it is a complete API lifecycle management platform. So we will see how actually it does that. First part is the API design. So the design part, for designing, Apigee has inbuilt editor, which is the Open API specs editor. So Apigee has inbuilt specs editor using which design in YAML or JSON format. On the right side, you will see the same API design in a very nice looking UI. So it is a standard Open API specs editor which Apigee supports, and these Open API specs can be then used to used as a material as a what is a reference for the developers to develop the API. They can same then be used as a reference to QA people for creating their QA test cases, and also can be used as a reference point for the this thing uh, for uh, what is a consumer, so API consumer who want to consume the API. So these things can be published on the portal. We will cover portal as well later. We will see the API portals on Apigee and all those stuff. So this can be yes, either shared with the consumer directly through other means, or they can be published on the portal, and from the portal the API consumer or the consumer developers, they can see them and understand the API specification, and accordingly they can proceed with their integration. So this API design is quite useful. So here in Apigee it has inbuilt editor. Next is the develop part. So in terms of development, in Apigee we have the API development section. So in that on the develop there is API proxies. You can build API proxies in Apigee. So you can add all the resources, create proxies, add resources. You can attach policies with policies in case it is a new term. Policies is like the programming behavior of Apigee. So for every functionality in Apigee we call it a policy. So policies, we attach policies, we add policies, attach policies on these resources which will perform any activity. So any kind of activities. We will anyways spend a lot of time going through various set of policies, what they do, and we will do a lot of labs later on. So we'll check that out. So a lot of policies are there. Apigee is quite feature rich in terms of policies, so you can develop all of these things. You can attach policies, manage everything, then next comes the security. So Apigee has a lot of security policies inside that. So after doing some transformations or calling multiple backends, doing any XML to JSON conversions, or modifying from one kind of JSON to another kind of JSON, doing all those activities can be done in the normal policies. But in one of the main use case of any gateway is to have the security. So that is a very important part. So for security, Apigee has the security policies. So Apigee has all the latest security configurations on or latest security integrations. So here you can manage traffic quota, do spike arrest, you can do the rate limiting, you can attach a lot of security like basic authentication, XML threat protection, JSON threat protection, and all kind of various security activities you can perform, and you can do that. So we will cover security in depth later on. We will spend a lot of hours and do a lot of labs as well for various security operations. So and then once you are done with the security, you can then publish. Once your API is ready, all the security mechanisms are taken place, then you can publish the API in a standard way. So you can publish the API there. You can make it available on portal. On the portal, anyone who want to consume your API, basically the consumer developers, they can be internal uh, developers to the same organization, or they can be external third-party developers. So they can come, they can see that documentation, they can get a feeling of the live documentation. They can even try some sample API calls from there, and get an idea on how to integrate, and then they can even create their own account. They can log in, they can register their applications, they can try with some sample calls after getting the credentials. So the whole developer management is taken care of, the publishing part, and onboarding of consumer, managing the developers and all those stuff. So for them also Apigee provides. Next comes the scalability or scaling. So Apigee is distributed by design. So here, based on the requirement, if you know the traffic is increasing, you can scale up by adding the component of Apigee. So you can scale up Apigee component, and when the requirement goes down, you can uh, decommission those instances, you can remove those instances, or you can enable auto scaling as well. So auto scaling on the infra level, then automatically when there is a sudden increase in traffic, then it can scale up and scale down. So in Apigee public cloud version, uh, Apigee team, which is the Apigee product team, they do all these kind of things. But in Apigee private cloud version, which is like hosted on the client, completely hosted by the client, so in Apigee private cloud, they usually don't do it. So they it is done by the private cloud, the company which is owning the platform. So it is done by client of Apigee. So if any Apigee client will that has this license, they will have their own team to manage the Apigee platform. So their own team can do all these things. But it is yeah, available. So anyone can, yeah, either Apigee team or the internal team, they can do that, not a problem. So they can do the scaling of the components and all. Next is the monitoring. So once the API goes live and all, you have to monitor it, and you have to see what are the traffics coming. Is it a valid traffic or it is not? And what are the different patterns? So what are the fault? If there are any errors or fault coming, then is it done on the client level, or it is done by the Apigee and everything? So everything can be managed and done easily without any problem. And yeah, so all of those can be managed without any problem with Apigee. It is all inbuilt part of the product, and everything is provided, so you can investigate in case of issues and all those stuff. So you can do the whole monitoring of the APIs. Another one is the analyze. So obviously in most of the time, the way it works is Apigee is the entry point for all the calls which is coming from outside world. So from outside, even outside other components inside the same organization, some other component, they talk through Apigee. So internally, all the systems will be exposed via Apigee. So all the services or features that you have built, all of those are exposed via Apigee. So Apigee is like common layer. So there will be n number of clients, there will be n number of backends, but Apigee layer is going to be common. So this will be a very good place to be the single source of truth for any kind of transactions or the request that is coming on. So in Apigee, you can take care of you can check all the requests which are coming. which clients are calling, which applications are trying to make a call, from which devices the calls are coming, which geography, geolocations, everything you can handle. And you can even go to backend. So on the backend, you can call multiple backends, or a single backend. And so all the so which calls are going to which backend, which are the success calls, how many failures, how much time it is taking, is it due to some complex logic on Apigee, or is the backend is slow, and all those stuff, and total number of calls, how many total APIs are getting consumed, which APIs are performing well, which APIs are not so. And that can be used to generate a lot of meaningful reports. So even for a senior management, they would not understand the technicalities, but they will understand all these things when you present all the reports, graphs and charts to them, that these are number of API calls coming, we are handling that much of traffic, that much successful, that much failure, total number of calls it is, and all those stuff. Internal systems are getting used. A lot of meaningful reports you can build, and you can present it to senior management. And for senior management, that will be something which they will understand. They will realize the how much success is the API program, and it will enable them to take future decisions. So it becomes very useful in that sense. So yeah. And next is the monetization part. So in the monetize, the way it works is, so when your API programs become quite mature, so there is when I say mature, it is means it is stable for few years now. For few years, you know that okay, my API program is stable. Everyone is able to onboard. It is working like a well-oiled machine. So I can handle the whole new APIs, decommissioning old APIs, upgrading the version, adding new consumers, and everything works fine. There are the backends are stable, APIs are stable, everything works fine. It becomes like, yeah, as I said, it's a well-oiled machine. Then you can think about trying to generate revenue from your APIs. So you can check and see there are like a some of the APIs. So at least, if not all, at least few of the APIs which you see that okay, they are having potential to generate revenue. So because these APIs are able to generate revenue for the consumers, so then I should ask consumers to pay me something because I'm giving them some service. So you can try to monetize APIs. So you can have a like subscription fees, or number of API call based fees. Depends on how you want to charge them. You can have charging mechanism. You can then have automated billings as well. So they want to pay the billings, you can take their credit card information, all those stuff, automatically bill them. Or whenever the billing comes up, you can send them reminders and all. You can ask them to bill and all those stuff. So all of those things you can do. And Apg comes with Apg monetization, and with the help of Apg monetization, you can do this revenue generation based on your APIs. So all of these things are available from Apg. However, monetization is not like a must-have step. I have not seen that many examples of API monetization or Apg monetization. It is useful only when when your company main business is by API. So like you have Twilio, like you have other APIs, Twilios, SendGrid is there. So there are many API companies which are, those companies are based on the APIs they provide and all those stuff. For them, it makes a lot of sense, but not for all of them, because for some of them, APIs are just exposing the services and all those stuff, but not generating for revenue. So it is like a nice to have thing, not a must have. So in those kind of APIs, it is not mandatory, so it's just optional. However, Apg has the provision. It is just so in case you want to generate revenue, then also Apg is available for you. So that way, so for all these phases of the API lifecycle we saw, so we can keep the wheel going. So once when we keep designing new APIs, and we build all the way till monitoring, or analyzing, monitoring, and monetizing all of them. So like this, we can keep doing that for multiple APIs. Apg has provisions for all the phases. So in a nutshell, so this is what Apigee does, the how Apigee manage API lifecycle. If you have any questions or queries, you can ask anytime. So you don't have to wait for like end of the session or something. Feel free to ask anything anytime. So now we'll understand the concept of organizations and environment. So in Apigee, when you register for Apigee account, when you create Apigee account and all, Apigee creates an organization for you. So in a single organization, you can have multiple users, but at least you must be part of one organization. So in APG, I mean, you get one organization, and I mean, at least minimum one organization for sure. And in a single organization, APG. So for the APG development point of view, organization is a top level entity. So you can share all the resources, all the APIs and everything within the organization, but you cannot do that outside the organization. In case you want to do it anything outside organization, you have to do an export and log into another one and then import kind of this thing. You cannot share like just like that with yeah, just by doing any kind of deployment or moving there. So organization, from a development point of view, organization is a top level entity. So all the documentation, even the access to APIs and portal. So even the portal, when you build a portal, even portal is tied to an organization. So a single API portal cannot be tied to multiple organization in APG. So in APG, every portal will be tied to one organization. So it is a one-to-one mapping between the portal to organization, because the portal will have the documentation and those things are related to an organization. So yeah, and anyway, the customers can have multiple organizations. So if an APG customer comes, and it happens many times that they come with requirements. So they will have one organization which will be non-production and another will be production. So that can happen. However, obviously, I mean, they cannot copy things from production to non-production because they are different environment. So usually they do it via their CI/CD process or export import, and they will use APG management APIs to do all kind of things. So yeah, so they have to do it in a different way. But yeah, they can have multiple organization. Even a single user, you can be part of multiple organization, but at a single time you cannot work on two organization. So either you can work on one, then if you want to be on the second organization, you have to change. So like this. So let me log into APG account. So I think it will be better if I show you. So just logging to Apigee Cloud. Here, for example, on the left side. So once I log in, on the left side, in the drop down just below my name, I am seeing this one. So this is an organization which Apigee creates. Like it is a free organization here, for example. So here APG will create, so I can be part of multiple organizations. So here in the drop down, it will tell me which all the organizations I'm part of. However, at one time I can only select one. So here I will work on this particular org. I cannot work on multiple organizations at the same time. And yeah, kind of this. So this is the top level entity from a development point of view. So I can do my development and all within that organization only. Yeah. So that is what I mean by yeah, not sharing resources or only working on one organization at a time. So so in organization there are different things, like we have uh, uh, APIs, we have extension, proxies, shared flows, we have access, publishing, management. So these are different components within an organization, which we can create and which we can use. We will cover all of them later on anyways. So but within the organization, so within the organization scope, these are the things which APG provides. So you have access keys, tokens, and everything. You have the configuration elements of key value map and all those stuff. So these things are there within the organization. And within the organization, we have environment. So environment is a runtime context. Environment it is the same thing. So environment is like a release environment or development environment that we call it. So like a runtime context where something can be deployed or something can be called. So if you can in order to make something available, you deploy, you create an environment, and in the environment you deploy your code or your configuration, and then your consumers can call you call those APIs. So that is what we have in environment. So it is a runtime context for your APIs. So in environments, we have things like for connectivity, we can get things like virtual host. We can create target servers, key store, trust stores. So these are for connectivity. Then we have caches. We can create cache resources, which is for runtime. We have things like extensions, proxies, shared flows. So these are the deployments of these things: deployment of extension, deployment of proxies, deployment of shared flows. Those are done within the environment. Then the configuration elements. So we have seen some configuration elements we can create on the organization level, and some config elements which we can create on the environment level. So APG provides ability to create configuration on either environment or this thing. So you can have key value map, you can have flow hooks, you can have resource files and all those stuff. So environment and all those stuff. So you can create all these configuration elements, and these can be used from your proxies. So one thing which I need to be clear is when you create an API, so your API name is unique in the organization. So you cannot have the multiple API names there. So API name must be unique, but the deployment of API is done in the environment. So API is created on the organization level. That is the reason we call it like a unique name in the organization, but the deployment of API is done on the environment. In order to call that API, it must be deployed to environment. So deployments are bound to environment, but the proxy name is bound to org. So in the org, your proxy must be unique. So this is what we have from the this thing. Now a bit more detail about these things. So organization, we anyway see this is the top level entity. We have with the organization we can provide documentation, access entity, and all those stuff. So we will do this thing. Hello, sorry, there was some disturbance on my side. Yep, some connection problem. Hello, yeah. So we were discussing about the organization. So this is like the top level entity and all. And now we will see what are the components which are available in the organization. So first is the access. So access thing. So APG, in APG you can create users that can log into APG, and in the users you can assign one role or with one role or more than one role. In APG you can have roles. So there are some predefined roles available, and there are some custom roles which you can create. So in so custom roles allow you to do all the fine grain on the control. So wait, let me show it from the here. So here now in the and the top level role for the organization is organization admin role. So that is the top level role. Okay, so here we have the organization admin role. So here we can go in this user, we have administration, you have in the roles, so you have users and roles. So this is how. So in the users I can see which all users I have. So these users are APG users. So these users have access to my APG organization. So right now it's only one user. Okay, then here the top level, at least in every organization there must be one org admin, one organization administrator. So that is the top level rule. So at least one person must be having this role. And then in the roles there are some predefined roles. So these are the built-in roles Apigee has. So you have business user, developer administrator, operations admin, organization admin, and yeah, read-only org admin user. So these are different users which are customer users. So they will have a certain set of roles and privilege. The top level is org admin. So you can have more than one org admin, so that is possible. But at least minimum one org admin should be there. And then you can create your own custom roles. In the custom roles you can define what kind of access do every for here for example you can create a custom role. Here you can define for all the API proxies. Can you create all the API proxies? Can you view them? Can you edit them? Can you delete them? And or if you have built any specific API proxies, you can even control to that specific API proxies. So for this API, am I allowed to add new role, custom role, and all those stuff? And for an environment basis, you can check the deployment status on the environment on production test, what that person can do. So usually in an enterprise environment, we create custom roles so that, for example, if someone is a developer, so for a developer, we can give them like a kind of all the access in the dev environment, uh, and we can give them all the access in the QA environment, but we only give them read only access in the SIT environment, for example. So there we can control this thing. So we can get custom roles, custom permissions, and all those stuff. Apigee allows all of that. With help of these we can create, and even for generating report, for creating developer applications. So here these developers are not Apigee developers. These are the consumer developer, which is the mobile developer or front end developers who are the consumer of our API. So for okay, are you allowed to create yeah, the consumer developers or not? So yeah, so all these things you can control with the help of roles and users. So from the access, we move into the API. So all the program, all the you know, all the features are exposed to the client in the uh, in the concept known as APIs. So APIs is the way through which we expose any feature or any functionality for the consumer in form of an API. So in the API, we will have multiple resources. So for example, for all the activities related to users, entity will be exposed to the consumer in the user API. We call them a user API. So for users, we will have operations like create user, we will have delete user, we will have update user. Those kind of things are operations or resources for the user. So in the we built APIs. APIs are like a group of resources, and those group of resources do some activities. So in Apigee, you can build in security, do the orchestration, you can do traffic management policies and all those stuff, and you can even write code in your Apigee proxies to handle more complex use cases. So Apigee is quite feature rich in some as compared to some other related platforms. So Apigee allows a lot of things to be done, and you can do that. And you can combine the policies into a shared flow. So shared flow is like a library file. Consider shared flow as a library. So it is a common reusable configuration or code. So any common logic which you know that it can be shared across multiple proxies, you can put in the shared flow, and then you can call the shared flow. So that's to promote the reusability and follow some standard patterns and everything. So those kind of things you can do in the shared flow. So like proxy, shared flow name must be unique in the organization, but it will be deployed to an environment. In order to consume it or run it, the shared flow must be deployed to environment. And same is for extension. Extensions here are like some GCP services. So Apigee can call some other GCP services, and now Google Cloud is coming with new and new extensions. So you can even call with AWS services. If I'm not wrong, AWS Lambda and all those stuff. So every month or two or something, they keep building a new extensions. So for example, you can check extensions here. So here in the admin section, there is something called extensions. So as of now you can see. So these extensions, you need to obviously had so in order to have extension, you must be having account in, say, for GCP extension you should have a GCP credential to call your GCP service, or for AWS you need to have AWS credential, so you can do that. So here if you click on add extension, so these are the options available. So for GCP you can connect to any GCP service, so you can connect to Google Authentication, Google Cloud Function, Google BigQuery,
Hello,
Google Cloud.
Manish. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Manish, please can you go slow bit now? But
Sure.
you are teaching very, very fast.
Okay. Okay.
Please.
Sure. Sure. So here in terms of extension, so you can connect to any Google cloud platform, so any GCP service. So here, so in GCP Google Cloud, you have a lot of services, as you can see here. You have Cloud Spanner, like Stack Driver, PubSub, machine learning, anything you can connect from your Apigee proxy to that GCP service. And then there are other extensions, as you can see. So right now there are four. You can talk to Salesforce from Apigee. So with help of this Salesforce extension, you can, yeah, contact talk to Salesforce. You can call to Informatica Integration Cloud. So if it is Informatica, yeah, you can call even AWS Lambda function. So right now, so there are four. You have AWS S3, Amazon S3, and AWS Lambda. So these are also available as an extension, so that you don't have to call them as a normal API, because these AWS services require a lot of complex, what you say, a lot of complex signatures and all those stuff. So all those signatures on everything, those will be a bit yeah, complex. So those yeah. So by calling them extension, just provide your credentials, just provide name of the reason, whatever, some 2 3 information, and Apg will take care of, connecting to that particular backend. Internally it will do all the complex logic for but yeah, for you it is just some credential, some information, and you can call them. So with help of this extension, with them you can call those services and platforms. So these are the things are extensions. So you can create an extension, and then you need to deploy extension to your environment. In order to consume the extension, you should deploy that into environment. So yeah. Yeah. So this is bit on this. So this is actually this is just an overview thing. So we are just getting an overview or getting familiar with the terms. We will have a lot of we will spend a lot of time understanding all these technologies, all these terms that we are using here in depth and all those stuff. So APIs, then environments, as we know, environments is like your place where you can deploy any API or any extension or shared flow, and you can consume them. So that's what. So we have different environment. Apg, in the free account, Apg provides two environment. One is test, another one is prod. uh, then in a paid org, if you have the enterprise license, then they provide more options. You can have multiple environments, so you can have yeah, um, SIT, QA, and all these different environments based on the company policy. And you can also have I mean, in some companies they have multiple organizations, so they will have one organization as a non-production, where they will have all the non-production environments, and then they can have production, where they can have like a pre-production and production kind of this thing, or so those kind of things they can uh, uh, have. Now on publishing part, so when you want to publish your API for consumption, so uh, in order to uh, publish your API in Apg, you have to create an API product. So you create an API product, and you expose API product. Internally you have a mapping. So when you create API product, you have to select which APIs will be part of this API product. Then you select your APIs and you expose them as API product. Then you can document your APIs using the Open API specification. So and then you can publish your API to the developer portal or API portal. We use the both the terms. And once it is available, then the consumer developers can see them. They can create their account. It is a self-service way, so they can create account without bothering the API team or operations team or sending a lot of emails. So within just few clicks they can create their account. They can register their app by themselves, and then once they register the applications, then they will get credentials generated, which is generated by Apigee, and then they can use those credentials and all those stuff. So it is all of them can be done easily without any trouble. So all of them. So yeah. So all these things can be done from the publishing point of view. We will spend a lot of hours discussing all these concepts in detail. So we'll see developer, API, product, everything in detail later on. We have I think more than one chapter which is dedicated to that. So we have a lot of hours dedicated later on for this. So this is just to at least get an idea on these terms. Then in order to do the management part, so Apigee has the Apigee Analytics, which provides the visibility to all the API traffic which comes from the application through Apigee Edge to backend services. So every except the payload. So because for security reason, Apigee does not capture anything in the payload part or in the body of the request or response. Everything else is captured. So your request URL, the tokens, OR tokens, and everything they capture. They will check the clients, who is the client, from which location, which source of the request, the backend system. Everything is completely captured. So all kind of API traffic, API usage, any kind of error, a lot of reports you can generate. You can also, if the requirement states that you have to capture any custom fields, so you can create your custom fields there in analytics. You can capture custom fields, you can add them in your analytics, and you can use them in the report. So that is also supported by Apigee. And apart from that, Apigee maintains audit log. So if anyone is Apigee user, so whoever has access to Apigee UI or Apigee dashboard, so that is all captured in the Apigee audit log. So those things are captured automatically, which you can check. So this is for the management part. Then there is configuration. So on the organization level, for example, if you want to create a configuration that is not going to change for the whole organization, regardless of the environment. So if you know that this configuration is going to be same for every environment, so in your proxy the same value will be used and all. So you can create a key value map for on the organization level. So on the org level, you can create key value map, and then you can read those key value map from your API, and you can use those values. You can even have an encrypted key value map. Encrypted key value map is used to store any sensitive data like passwords or any credentials and all those stuff. So those things you can put in the encrypted key value map. So we will cover this key value map and their policies anyways later on. So as I said, this is just to get an overview. So it's just to understand the term. So this is the term which can happen, which we use. Then there is a resource file. So on the proxy level, you can create a Java file which can be which is going to be common for on the organization level, and you can call that Java code from your own proxy anytime you want to refer that. So on the resource file also you can create in on the org level. So from any environment, you don't have to put it every time. So single version of the file can be there in the on which can be created on the org level, and on the org level then you can call them. And yeah, same for JavaScript, Java, or any custom code. Then you can also create org level data mask. So data mask is to hide the sensitive data. So in there you can have the organization level configuration. So you know that some example, if you are working on payments, or banking. So then you know that the credit cards might come, and you know that okay, the credit card will come and the field name will be this will be the field name every place. So you can create a configuration on the organization. So in any proxy, any environment in my organization, if this field comes up, it should not be shown on the trace or anywhere. So you can create a configuration so it will hide. So it will hide it, but internally it will have the value. In the programming, it will work as it is expected to work. But for the visibility point of view, it will not be visible to anyone who wants to check with it. So we will check this data mask and all as well later on in detail when we cover the security part, how to create and all those stuff. Then in the runtime, we create a lot of API keys. So there will be a lot of consumer. In order to call APIs, they will have the consumer. So they will get a key and secret. So all the API keys. And in most of the time, when we are building APIs, we have to implement OAuth. So we have to secure our APIs using OAuth protocol. Is OAuth standard. So OAuth is now a de facto standard for storing them. So all these runtime data and all that are created on the organization level. So the API key, once it is created for any application, that API key must be unique in the organization. And Apigee generate OAuth token, and those tokens also are generated as a unique OAuth tokens on the organization level. So those values, the Apigee will not generate a duplicate value for them. So it must be same. So like, and even if you're trying to create manually, you are trying to create API key by using the management API. Apg will check if this value that you are providing for API key it is not duplicated. So there is no API key with the same value exists. So that's yeah, that Apg has a check. So all of them are created on the organization level. And API products and all those stuff. So API products, API keys are associated with the API product. In API product, you can specify the environment. So you can control on which this token is or this API key will have access to my this proxy on this environment, that you can control. However, the name of the value of that API key or the value of the token is unique in the whole organization level. So these things we can do with the runtime data and all those stuff. So this is a diagram which outlines the uh, uh, entity relationship for the organization. So you can see this organization is like one everywhere. So in a single organization, you can have API products, environment, developer, apps, proxies, and all those stuff. So you can see it is like 0 to n. So you have option of not having an API proxy. So it starts with 0, but then you can have one. And API, you can have multiple resources and kind of this thing. So resources will be part of API product. So all of them are there like related to each other. Once we do the lab, we'll build APIs and all those stuff. Then we can check and we can yeah, see them in detail. So for today, let's call it a day. We'll resume the session tomorrow. Yeah, with this thing, and we'll study more. So this we have covered organization part. We will see the things in the environment, and we will resume from there. So yeah. So any questions or queries?
Uh, Manish, this is Sridhar.
Sorry.
This is Sridhar.
Yeah, hi Sridhar. Yeah, tell me.
Uh, mm, like I'm a business owner, okay?
Mhm.
So I just want to use the APG it just my business, okay?
Mhm.
So how APG will going to communicate to the business owner saying that uh, how this can be used for the business owner.
So from a business owner point of view, so obviously you have all the features in your business, all the entities that you have in your system,
Mhm.
internal systems and all those stuff. You want
Okay.
to build mobile apps for those, right? So
Okay.
in order to build mobile apps, you would need APIs because
Okay.
obviously you cannot have the programming logic on the mobile app. So this APIs will be exposing all the internal feature services, all the data for consumption. People will build mobile apps by consuming those APIs, and they will so and that will add a value. So in obviously with more mobile apps, more digital applications, it will add more and more value for your business from that point of view. So eventually it will help you, if not by direct, but at least add a value to your organization by bringing in more app, with apps and everything.
Okay, like I would say like these APIs, the Apigee will be like a kind of a gateway, API gateway.
Yeah, so this is the gateway. So this is just to expose any service or any feature for outside
Mhm.
world. So this is your gateway. So entry point for your internal systems. Yes.
Okay. But do you have any like a sample, like a documentation where it will show the
Sample as in.
not an example actually, like to promote to explain
So we
about
will
the
do a
AP.
coding and development. So in order to do that, sorry.
Yeah, like you shown one of the cloud access might be you have logged into organization and you have showed something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like what
got
are
it.
the sort we need to require to start that? Uh, we don't
So
know like
APG is
where to.
on cloud, so there is nothing. You
Mhm.
can create your account on APG. Go to login.apg.com. So
Okay,
you can go and create your free account
okay,
on login.apg.com. So you can go there to login.apg.com. You can create your free account there. Just paste it
okay.
in the chat. You can copy that, and
Mhm.
so that is fine. And for testing purpose, we would need Postman. So
Okay,
Postman is required for testing purpose. So just download and install Postman. So those two
okay.
will be sufficient for the whole thing. So because APG is done on the cloud, we don't really have to install anything to do in this thing.